Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to Dis-Cember 2023. This is a bit different. This is not a review. This is sort of a look back, in a way. It's the memorable Disney Channel shows that I grew up with in my childhood. I think I did the best I could. The ones that I grew up with. I didn't go past 2004 or 5. Oh, hold on, another one. I think that counts. No, it's 2004. I think it counts. So anyway, all right. So the Disney Channel when I grew up it wasn't a channel yet, not a full channel. You had to call, you had to get on your phone, you had to tell your parents, mom, dad, I want the thing. They had to call a number and say, hey, I want the Disney Channel. Call your cable provider and say, hey, I want the Disney Channel on my cable, that sort of thing. It didn't actually become a full channel until like the late 90s, I think. You know. And it started off with this weird vignettes where Mickey Mouse hands putting stuff together or putting together a logo, or there's like a little train thing, Because, they celebrated 40 years earlier this year, back in February, I think, or something like that. 40 years. I didn't know it was that long. 1983. And I didn't really get into it until the 90s. And just to quickly go through some of the ones that I watched back in the day, I had a tape, and I remember all these being on there. You had Dumbo Circus, which was people in suits, and Dumbo, and there was the mouse was in there. There was a bunch of other ones. It was kind of weird. My Little Pony, which was an acquired thing, but it was on there. Same thing with the Care Bears. Right, they're also acquired. And you had Gummy Bears, which was acquired, but also owned by Disney, but it was acquired because it wasn't original programming. And then to that, so I had DuckTales and Tailspin, eventually, Goof Troop, all those ones that also aired in the Disney Afternoon, Gargoyles, stuff like that. Under the Umbrella Tree, which was a woman with 3 puppets under a tree looked like an umbrella. And they'd sing songs. I don't remember too much about that one, but under the umbrella tree, whatever the song went. By far, the most memorable one is Welcome to Pooh Corner, where this weird old man tells us stories about Winnie the Pooh, and we flash to people in suits as Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Eeyore. And it was one I remember watching quite a bit. It was, yeah. But when the Disney Channel became a full channel, I started watching it more, of course. Even I remember having stuff from when it was still free trial or whatever. But and then once Disney Channel became a full channel, they were plugging Toon Disney, which was another channel. But the first big thing I remember, you had a Jeff Corwin show. There was this African guy that was talk about animals, to Muppets Tonight, which originally aired on ABC. Was there reruns there. There was movies, The Magical World of Disney, because ABC had The Wonderful World of Disney, that sort of thing. Movies every Saturday night in The Magical World of Disney, right? And then once we get going, we had Disney Channel, and then they split it into like 3 different things. In the late 90s, early 2000s, they did that. You know what I mean? It was Playhouse Disney, Zoog Disney in the afternoon, and then just Disney Channel. Although sometimes Zoog would go on because you have a movie or something. And then late nights, you'd have Vault Disney. Older stuff like The Monkey's Uncle or Herbie or stuff like that. Old movie. Zorro. I remember Zorro being on a lot on there, which was a show I could talk about, but it wasn't originally a Disney Channel show. These are all originally Disney Channel programs. And the first one I want to talk about is Disney Channel's In Concert. Yeah. I know it wasn't Disney Channel people singing in concert like they could have done years later when they were purposely getting people who could sing. No, this was, they would have actual bands perform. I think the first one I did was Johnny Lang, which I know of him, but he's kind of an underrated performer. You get that "Lie to Me," that song. He was in Blues Brothers 2000. If you need some loving, better call on me. Better believe you can. That, yeah. But the ones that stick out to me are the boy band pop stars that they eventually ended up getting, and how they veered away from, you know, independent music singer songwriters like Johnny Lang. You had NSYNC, which was the first one I ever saw, and how they promote these. Well, you get some of the music videos on there, but normally they would play the songs from, like, I remember I Want You Back and Tearing Up My Heart were the two performances that they played on Disney Channel for these, right? And that got me interested in this. NSYNC is what got me started on pop music, but Backstreet Boys is my favorite band. I don't know how it works. Yes, I am excited NSYNC is back together, but NSYNC was the first one, and I had it on tape, and I watched it all the time, because it's not just a concert. You go behind the scenes, and you talk about how they got into the music business, how they came together, that sort of thing. That's the way, you know, and what they're interested in. Like, Joey Fatone is on a jet ski, and Lance Bass is on horses, and Justin Timberlake likes playing basketball, and JC Chazet likes to mix the music, that sort of thing. Chris playing football, I think, and yeah, Joey takes you on a behind the scenes tour of their bus. And the funniest part is when Lance was sleeping. Lance was asleep. I woke him up. Go back to sleep. I think if I was Lance, I would have punched Joey in the face, waking me up. But they're filming for their special scene. Other ones included the Backstreet Boys, which also had memorable ones. There was another horse riding thing. I think Kevin went horse riding in that one. And then some of the guys, Brian played basketball. And then they all went bowling. That was interesting. And then you had BB Mac, who was in a group from Sweden, I think, that I grew to like because of the music they were playing, Disney Channel was responsible for a lot of my love in music. If I didn't see music videos on the channel, I probably wouldn't have got into it. Yeah, BB Mac and the Backstreet Boys I learned from school. But NSYNC, BB Mac, Aaron Carter, the Aaron's Party Come and Get It video played on there all the time back in the day. A-Teens, which didn't have a concert, but still, all the music I grew up with, I wouldn't have grown up with if I hadn't heard it on here first. So thank you, Disney Channel, for my taste in music. But anyway, so this is kind of enough. Backstreet Boys, BB Mac. I think it's like BB Mac and another one, Bewitched or something. Bewitched was on there. It's 5 and Bewitched, BB Mac, and another one, because the one that's on YouTube is only half hour. And BB Mac comes from their names. Burns, McIntosh, whatever. They're all their names, BB Mac. And there was Aaron Carter and Samantha Mumba. I don't remember Samantha Mumba that much. Britney Spears and Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block when he went solo. And I think I first heard of Joey McIntyre from all that. And that was years later, Who else was there? I think of anything. Cleopatra, another obscure band, but there was all over Disney Channel back in the day, like 1999, around then, But yeah, Disney Channel in concert. It was fun to go back. You get little tidbits of their career, how they got started, sort of thing. Of course, Aaron Carter's all about, I was a younger brother of Nick Carter, and I got into this and that, and sort of thing. Including, I think it was that where he said that he was only going to go till he was 16. Well, I don't think everything went the way he was planned, but he kind of disappeared after his third album, so it was all best of stuff, Yeah. I spent a lot of time on that one. I think I was going to. Next one to talk about is the famous Jet Jackson. Yes. Not something like that. Yes. Famous Jet Jackson was about Lee Thompson Young, rest in peace, played a teenage actor named Jet Jackson. And after becoming homesick of his hometown, Wilmstead, North Carolina, he brings the production of his show Silverstone to Wilmstead, which also gives the people jobs, which is the subject of the movie, which I have a review for, but I need to do an update on it. I haven't decided whether I'm doing that or not. I'm playing it by ear. I'm going by the seat of my pants with these reviews. But, yeah, and it's basically, it shifts between his home life and his work life and dealing with all that stuff. And usually the plot of his home life kind of coincides with the plot of the Silverstone episode. They only ran for 2 seasons, but it was a fun little show to go back and watch. I think I actually ended up finishing the series on ABC Family when it aired on there in reruns. I don't know. Then we have The Jersey. I'm kind of going through these. The Jersey was designed to get kids into sports. Yes. A group called the Monday Night Football Club. Nick, his cousin, and their 2 friends, Slaw and Ethan, for lack of a better name. I didn't look any of this stuff up. Are football fanatics. And his cousin, Nick's cousin, is not... wants to be a part of the group. Not really. Is not really that in by Nick until after the first episode, of course. But in his grandfather's will, Nick is given a old jersey of his, which he doesn't care for. But the jersey gives him the ability to jump into any sports stars. Usually, whatever they're watching on TV, that's where they jump. And there's a lot of football, but it's also basketball, baseball. I don't know if there's any golf or anything, but the tennis, I think Serena Williams was on there. Yeah, and it had real sports stars show up. Jerry Rice, Jason... I don't remember his full name. He played for the 49ers. Jerry Rice was on there. That's the only one I remember the most of. But yeah, he had a lot of... I think Evan Smith was on there once. And the thing about the jersey is because it's the grandfather's jersey, only works for anyone in his bloodline. So Nick, his cousin, or his sister, if they wore it or touch it, would be sucked in. But for Sly and the other guy, Ethan, for lack of a better name, they would have to be touching one of the others to go in there, which would lead to different combinations. It's a fun show, and I vaguely remember the finale was like a 2-parter that traces the origins of the jersey back to the Knights of the Round Table ages. I don't know, but it was interesting. And we have Bug Juice. Does it come in a jar? Bug Juice comes from where you are. The best thing about the show was the theme song. I don't think I remember watching the show too much. Oh, I just thought of another one. After this, I'll talk about it. Just to write it down so I remember it. All right. So, Bug Juice was basically the trials and tribulations of a group of kids at a summer camp. The theme song was the best part of it. It was kind of meh to me, but it is memorable because of the theme song. And if I didn't mention it, someone was going to say, what about Bug Juice? You know what I mean? Next, before I get to more, the one I just wrote down we'll talk about, Movie Surfers. Now, the Movie Surfers was something important because the first episode is probably the most remembered one because it was for... What it is these group of teenagers hired by Disney to go behind the scenes and talk to actors in Disney movies. So the Parent Trap remake was the first one they did, and they did a few more. They changed teenagers here and there, and went a while. I don't know if they still do it. They were doing it for a while, but they would change kids here and there. There was a guy named Marcus in one of them, and I remember seeing him in other stuff too. Hey, that's Marcus. Even to this day, he pops up like, oh, that's Marcus. So I recognize him. But the Movie Surfers, they went behind the scenes of your movies. They didn't spoil too much, but they just talked about stuff, talked to some of the stars. They talked with Lindsay Lohan, Dennis Quaid. So it's nice. Then we get to the Zoog era. I already talked about So Weird. Technically, the Jersey and Jet Jacks are in there too, but this is when we started to get into that era. I already talked about So Weird in the first video of this month. So if you want to know more about that, go and look at that. But we're going to move on to Lizzie McGuire. Yes, a very popular show back then. And you're thinking, I got a lot of girly stuff. Look, I was raised by women, alright? Lay off me. I had a brother and a stepdad, but the stepdad was a douchebag, and my brother didn't fall far from the tree at that point. She was spoiled. Anyway, Lizzie McGuire, you know Lizzie McGuire, right? Do I have to explain this? It's Hilary Duff, another one of my childhood crushes. Hey, she's only a year older than me. So that's, you know, doable. Although, with this mug of a face, probably not. Plus, she's married now. And I'm not. Anyway, yeah, Lizzie McGuire. It's a girl going through middle school. Now, she was older than she was playing, because I've watched Bionic Pig's review of Lizzie McGuire movie, where he's saying that she's supposed to be 13. She's going into high school. By the way, I was 14 going into high school, because I was behind. 13 going into high school, and that Yanni Gelman's character, Paolo, is supposed to be 17. Well, see, the reason why he's 17 is, one, the actor was actually 17 at the time, and it would still technically be legal because they're both done at the age of 18, but it's still weird. But if you really think about how old that Hilary Duff was at the time, she was actually like 15 or 16. So that's only 1 or 2 years behind him. So not really weird, just when you think of how the character is supposed to be. So it's then Lizzie, her two friends, Miranda, and I almost said Miranda and Gordo, and then her little brother Matt, who is the pest brother, because Disney Channel has to have these pest brothers. And she had a little animated version of herself that didn't really interact with her, but it was always around, doing kind of funny things. Some of the most memorable episodes there, the Christmas episode with Aerosmith's Steven Tyler as Santa Claus. Yeah, and the Dia de los Muertos episode, the Halloween one. That one, those ones stick out. And there's other ones, for sure, but we're going to move on to Even Stevens. Again, do I even need to talk about this? Even Stevens put Shia LaBeouf in the spotlight. Shia LaBeouf plays Stevens. Louis Stevens, the youngest of 3 children, with his sister Ren, played by Krista Carlson Romano, and his brother Donnie, played by Nick Mano, or whatever his name is. And then their parents are there, and it's basically like Lizzie McGuire, but from a boy's point of view. Ren is also there. She's somehow still in middle school, even though she's way older she's older than me, right? I think she's almost 40, if not 40 by now. She's older than me. She was still in middle school because they were trying to. I don't know. Donnie looked like he was 30, but playing a college student. I don't know. And of course, Beans. Who could forget Beans, the annoying neighbor who always shows up unannounced and loves bacon, because beans and bacon. Yes. Of course, more memorable episodes would be the Halloween episode, which I did a review for on my channel. Go and check that out. It's in the Retro Rewind section. And then there was also Influenza the Musical, which I could actually do. I should do some Retro Rewinds this month. They would probably be bonus reviews, to be honest, because I want to stick to other Dis-Cember stuff. I don't know, but that Influenza Musical is another one. We went to the moon in 1969, not 1970, but a year sooner. We went to the moon in 1969. That's when we got a landing. That was lunar. Oh, wait a minute. All she said was, we went to the moon. Yeah. But yeah, then we had the Proud Family. It's hard for me to talk about this one. It's an animated series about an all-African-American family. I'll tell you this, I love Sugar Mama. Okay, she's fantastic. So is the Spanish grandpa. I don't remember his name. She equates him to Cesar Romero. That's the Joker, you know. But it's about Penny Proud, and she lives with her parents. Does she have any siblings? She has a couple friends. One of them played by Orlando Brown. He's always wearing like a do-rag or something. I don't really remember much, but there's this shenanigans abound in this animated series. We're gonna move on. That's So Raven. Yes, I'm putting that on here because it was, still my childhood. 2003 is when it came out, right? So I was 17. And I was 16. I was 16, yeah, because I'm celebrating 20 years at Cedar Valley, so I was 16 when you can legally start working. So I was 16, and this is Raven Simone, who had been on a Cosby Show and hanging with Mr. Cooper in the previous years, is now playing a teenager named Raven Baxter, who is a psychic because her grandmother was a psychic. Her two friends are Chelsea and Eddie, played by Annalise Vanderpool, and Orlando Brown. Look at that, he's back. And Rondell Sheridan is also here, who I knew from Cousin Skeeter. And then Takea Crystal Kema from In Living Color, which I wouldn't discover until later. And I was like, hey, that's the mom from That's So Raven. And then, of course, the little brother Corey, who get the spinoff Corey in the House. That was after I was already an adult. So we're not talking about that. It was like 2008. But the show lasted for 3 seasons, I think. The mom disappeared after season 2. I don't think they ever said what it was, unless they brought it up in Raven's Home, because they did a sequel series. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so the shenanigans usually come from Raven getting a vision and trying to figure out how to stop it, but usually triggering it. Memorable episodes. The Halloween episode where they turn into cows. It's good. And one of the earlier episodes where she pretends to be her own teacher, Mrs. Petrocelli. Yeah, she would often wear... I think there was another one where she went to like a family reunion, and it was like Eddie Murphy, because most of them were her. It's like Eddie Murphy and the Night Professor, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then finally, it's a Phil of the future. Never knew in history is where he would land. We're going to talk about Phil of the future. Phil of the future is about the Diffees, a family who lives in the future, and they crash land in modern day 2004, Pickford, home of the tomatoes, and they are forced to live as an average family. The actual first episode doesn't come till later in the season because they aired it out of order for some reason, and I think they framed it as a flashback episode just so it wouldn't feel like it's out of order like the episode of Sliders. But upon arriving, Phil meets a girl named Keely and becomes friends with her. There's also, we have Evan, Quicksilver, that guy, Evan Peters, in an early role as Seth. He disappears after a while. There are other characters like Owen, and there's a bully named Myron. What's a bully's name? And then they have their pet is a caveman named Curtis, played by J.P. Manon, who also plays the principal. And they never confirmed it, but I always thought that the principal was a descendant of that caveman, which probably should have had some repercussions that the caveman was taken out of its home, because you think if it was taken away, then it wouldn't. I don't know. But yeah, remember episodes? There's a Halloween episode where it's revealed that Phil's sister's friend, Danielle Panabaker's sister, by the way, was an evil robot. And unlike the episodes of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, the Halloween episodes that were out of continuity, this actually is in continuity because, except for the ending of it, but because we never see Debbie after that episode. She's gone. We never see her again. I know. And the last episode where in the final season they started to treat Phil and Keely as love interests. By the way, Ali Mashaka of Ali and AJ's in this. Just saying. She plays Keely. And so they started to have feelings for each other. There's a whole thing with he sees a future where she's like a reporter and she has a wedding ring on. Well, who's that going to be? Well, obviously it's him, right? Which makes the finale more confusing. They get ready to leave, and then a piece of the time machine breaks off again and they're forced to stay. I think that's how it was. I've seen it a long time. Those are the memorable shows of the Disney Channel over the years. I'm sure there's more, but these are the ones that stuck out to me. I almost forgot Movie Surface and Phil the Future. But yeah, these are the shows that stood to me. I'm sure there's more animated shows, like Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, if that wasn't after. Some of you might say, Phineas and Ferb. That was way after my time, man. way after my time. There's no way. Proud Family is the only Lilo and Stitch the series, although that might have been 2004 or 5. Not exactly sure. Whenever Stitch the movie came out shortly after that. Maybe Lilo and Stitch the series. I'm not gonna go into that, but yeah. So these are just some of the memorable ones that I grew up with. Mine is so weird because I did a video on that already, and there's also the ones like In a Heartbeat. I couldn't remember too much of that one, but that was also an acquired one from Canada, so I'm not sure it really counted. It wasn't like an original. I don't think it was ever announced as an original series. So, but yeah. So, what are your thoughts on all these shows? Do you have shows from your childhood? And I'm not talking about like from my age. Your childhood, you could be Phineas and Ferb, or Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, that type of thing. Did you grow up in the era of Disney XD? Were you a kid at that point with I'm in the band? You grew up with Zach and Cody like my brother did. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure like, share, and subscribe. That's another one people might call out. Zach and Cody. Oh, come on. Like, that started in like 2006 or 7. That was way. That was 2005 maybe. You could count that, but that moved way on beyond my teenage years. So, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one. Kind of like how I did that.